Thanks for joining me for another edition of Groove with Portia. I'm your host, Portia Booker, and yes, this is my real name. So what is Groove with Portia? Groove with Portia targets those who are curious, eager, and hungry for new information that can aid in their personal and professional development. Malcolm X once said, "Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." Never stop learning. Be a sponge for the rest of your life. Before I jump into my topic for today, I want to start off with a little history lesson. So thanks for joining me in the studio today, Miss Liz Tilley from the Royal Haven.
Hi.
Thank you, Liz, for joining me. So today is World Kindness Day. I know it can be hard to stay positive in this ever-changing, very crazy world. So having an attitude of gratitude can be helpful in an optimistic way. So can being kind to others, right? So kindness is the quality of being friendly and considerate. Showing kindness goes a long way. Kindness helps other people feel valued. Kindness also has benefits for the person being kind. So some of these can be elevation of dopamine levels in the brain, which makes us feel good, right? The feeling of emotional warmth, which leads to a healthier heart. Reduction in inflammation, which can slow the aging process. Don't we all want to stay young forever? Reduction of emotional distance, which helps couples feel more bonded. Contagiousness that often sets off a pay-it-forward ripple effect. So, here are some ways you can participate. Write notes of kindness on small pieces of paper and stick them in random library books. That sounds like fun. Hand out notes of encouragement wherever you go, including the grocery store, coffee shop, etc., maybe even at work. Offer to do an errand for someone, like walking their dog or helping them with groceries. Cook dinner for a friend and bring it to their home. I'll pass on that. Don't get me wrong. I like cooking, but I'm not like Chef Boyardee or anything. Give notes of appreciation to family members, coworkers, and service providers. Pay for somebody's meal at a restaurant. Pay for their coffee or a meal behind the person who, if you go to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts and they're behind you, pay for their meal. I've had that happen a couple times. My ultimate favorite, and most people know, I give what's called a Portia hug. So if you see me, come get one. You'll get a squeeze of your life. Excellent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that being kind can sometimes not be easy, especially for the line of work that you do, Liz.
Right.
I mean, what's your way of showing kindness to people?
Well, because I have an attitude of gratitude, kindness comes easy. Being kind means going out of your way for somebody and not expecting anything in return. That's my definition of kindness. Because the kinder you are, usually the more time consuming it is, because you have to go out of your way even more so. So being kind is very important, but it's always making sure that you're not looking for anything in return, because then you have a motive and you're not really being kind.
Right, you want a monetary something, or hey, I did this for you, what's in it for me?
Quid pro quo or whatever.
Well, I think for me, I'm just an overall kind person to everybody. I don't expect anything in return. I mean, there's a little older lady that lives down the street from me. All her grandkids are grown. They don't really come over to visit her, but I told her, I said, call me for anything. I'll come down. I help her with her computer a lot. I help her with just little things, and she appreciates it. I don't care. To me, it's nothing. Mm-hmm. But just those 5 minutes that I spend with her probably makes her whole day.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing that I do is when I go into a closed space, like an elevator, I'll say something jolly. I'll make conversation, because you never know where somebody's at. And your word of the day, whatever it is, if it's positive and you give it to someone, then it helps that person. You never know what you might help someone do by just a kind word. You look nice today, like your earrings. Are you having a good day? What, besides the weather, the weather is kind of a dud for me, because that doesn't take thought. But when you make a conversation or generalize or say something, make someone laugh, that might be the only laugh they get all day long. And laughter is very important.
Oh, yeah. Laughter is one of the best medicines that you can ask for.
Universal language. Because when people can't even speak the language, they'll smile or laugh. And you need to smile or laugh. So you have a conversation on that. It doesn't always have to be a word. It's just body language and the way you look. Most of us are so busy in our day that we just go through our day and we don't pay attention to what's around us because we're focused on what we want. But when you look around you and focus on what's around you, it makes you a more broader person, more polite, more kind, because you're not focusing on you. And when you focus just on you, it makes you self-centered, shallow, not much to give back. But when you focus on other people, you start being a moment of light. People are glad to see you. When they see you, they smile because they know, oh, there goes silly Liz. Look at Liz. Hey, girl, what's up? Because they know that you're going to come with something positive. It's not like, oh, my God, here she comes.
Right, run away, hide, everybody. Here comes negative Nancy.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I do every day at work. I had somebody tell me, oh, my God, you are so happy all the time. Why not? I mean, life is too short. And like you said, I make a joke every day. Every day I'm at work. My favorite phrase that I tell everybody is every day is great that ends in Y.
Oh, yeah.
Or one time I was walking past. I hate it when people walk and text because I've watched people fall or crash into doors. And so this lady was walking and texting super indulged in whatever it was going on her phone. So I stopped her. I said, hey. So she looks up. I said, hey, you dropped something. Knowing good and well she didn't drop anything. So she looks behind her and I said, you dropped your smile.
Aww.
And she started laughing. But, the moral is like, just be aware of your surroundings and just take a minute away from
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interact.
Yeah. Because the computer, the age that we're in with all this technology, it's separating us. A lot of times, especially young people, they don't really know how to have a conversation. And then when you have a conversation with them, they tend to get very defensive because they don't understand that they're supposed to be decoding what you're saying, and they're so used to decoding words. You have to decode a person's volume, what they're saying, the words they're using, their tone. And if you're always on your
phone or tablet,
texting, right, you're reading. And then another thing, just because they're always, I would have thought that a lot of people could spell well, and no. And it's like, you think like, wow, because they're always texting, and I get emails and it's like, this person I know does a lot of texting. They're always on their phone. They can't spell. They need to learn how to communicate verbally. Then it won't be an embarrassment to themselves. So I don't know. It's just one of my pet peeves.
Well, I mean, the cell phone has autocorrect. I mean, you also have a dictionary right there. Sometimes autocorrect works great, but then other times it will change the whole conversation by one little word. So I agree. The younger people, it's kind of sad though.
Right. Because human beings are communicative. And in order to be able to exchange and grow, we learn from each other. By speaking. If a person doesn't speak, they don't reason, because your speaking and your reasoning are tied together. So because we're spending all our time texting, we're not doing any reasoning, so we make bad decisions. That's why you're seeing things happen now that you like, why would that person do that? Because they didn't think it through, because they're not speaking and they're not communicating on a proper level. So they make decisions based on self that causes them later on to be in a position to be hurt.
Yeah, I mean, they say we live in an age right now where people are we're connected, but we're also disconnected from the basics. Just a simple conversation like me and you are having. Like I said, I see so many young people today in the restaurants like this on their phone looking down. Their parents are like, hey, John, you forgot this. What? Say that again?
Right.
My mom would have backhanded me if I said something like that to her.
But not just to pick on the young people. The older people are doing it too. You'll go in a restaurant and you see a whole family. We're supposed to be having dinner together and everybody's on their phone. Nobody's talking.
Just like, what's the point?
Right. Why are we getting together? And then you have to look at the subliminal message that you're sending. If you're focusing on your phone that's taking you somewhere else, then that means you want to be somewhere else. You know, you don't want to be there present with the situation or the event that you're at, because your mind is somewhere else. It's not enough. So that starts a whole nother set of attitudes. Not enough. Wherever I'm at, it's not enough. Whatever I'm doing, it's not enough, because I'm focusing on doing something else. Always. I'm never focused on where I am, what I'm doing, the moment.
Yep.
So a lot of people are missing those moments, and they're very important, because we are important to each other in conversation. We are important to each other in relationships. We are important to each other as a community. We are important to each other as a society. But that we're losing that, because it's all about something else.
Yep. Something else is always
more important.
All right, so a little background on Miss Liz. She grew up in London, England, moved here to the States as a teenager. She's a graduate of both Tri-C, my alumni as well, and John Carroll University. She is a recipient of Tri-C's Rising Star Alumni Award. Congrats.
Thanks.
And the founder of the Royal Haven. So, Liz, just kind of a basic question. What sparked your interest in opening a group home for people who suffer from mental illness?
Well, it started in college. When I was in college, because I'm from the hood, basically, in the hood, we have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of mental illness, and we have prison recidivism, and we have a lot of things that are not positive. And in my community, mental illness has always been looked at. You have that one person in your family, like Uncle Joe. Oh, Uncle Joe, that's Uncle Joe. That's how he acts. But seriously, Uncle Joe has a serious problem. And he's getting left behind. And when someone's getting left behind, they can't progress. And if you're part of a community and you can't progress, then that means your community eventually, if we got enough Uncle Joes in our community, that means our community is going to eventually be left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need to stop moving forward and just pushing people along and actually
embrace them. Right. You have to embrace them. So in college, when I was in college at John Carroll, I decided that I wanted, it started at Tri-C. They had this Robert Lewis Academy where you go in there and it was a quarter and you did something that you would do in the community. So my passion is prison recidivism. Prison recidivism means that a lot of people come out of prison and they go right back. Generally, they go right back because they're not embraced by the community. And not saying that anybody's picking on them, but if you just give me $75 and pat me on the back and say, go out and be fruitful and plan your future and be great, that's not going to happen. Because number one, we haven't addressed the reason why I was in prison. We haven't addressed the reason, what led me to that moment in time that had me to break the law. Generally, we break the law in my neighborhood because of finances. A lot of crimes are committed because people have a lack of finances. And a lack of finance means a lack of education. somewhere in there we didn't connect those two dots, that education brings about finances. You know, and then if you start, if a girl starts having a baby at the age of 15, between the ages of 12 and 18, then that woman is going to live her life in reaction mode. So when you start living your life in reaction mode, you're not planning anything. You're just reacting to whatever comes down the pipe, because now you have a baby. You know, and it makes it difficult for you to go forward, because now your first priority is your baby. But where are you in there? You have no education. You have no means of being able to take care of yourself. So you turn to other means to take care of yourself and your baby, which leads to a lot of other things, drug abuse, alcoholism, because you're acting in reaction mode. And generally we tumble in on ourselves when we can't be fruitful, when you can't go and out into the world with a clean slate and be fruitful. You turn into yourself and you start doing inward things that are not progressive, that it won't get you where you need to be in society. And then society has all these stigmas that they place on us. So, you know, those were some of the reasons why I picked mental illness, because one in 6 Americans have a mental illness. And
wow, that's a big number.
Yes. And the government found a way to not have to support that. They say that it's an acquired disease. You went out into your neighborhood and picked up mental illness and started being that person, which is bullcrap. But it is what it is. So with that being said, we have a lot of people in our neighborhood that are on untreated mental illness. And when I say mental illness, I don't mean that you have to give it medication. Sometimes it just needs counseling. Sometimes it just needs redirecting. Because if you have a mind that hasn't been taught how to think and know what to think about, then it's going to think about a whole bunch of stuff. Unnecessary stuff. And then when that unnecessary stuff doesn't work, then you go inward and you start doing unnecessary things. Because before you do something, you think about it and then you react.
Well, kind of like what you said with the reactionary
Lifestyle.
Responses.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need to start teaching. You know, just that simple kind of goes back to the acts of kindness. Taking 5 minutes out of your day to just give somebody a compliment. And maybe they would have never thought, oh my God, somebody actually noticed my shirt. You know, because maybe they don't get any compliments or anything else at home.
So they have low self-esteem. And, you know, that's another thing. You know, a lot of people in my neighborhood have low self-esteem. And they try to dress up the outside, because they don't realize that self-esteem comes from within. And self-esteem, when you build self-esteem, the way you build self-esteem is by accomplishing things. Just barely accomplishing your high school diploma. That's a huge accomplishment for somebody that's 18. Then you go on and you accomplish graduating from college. That's a huge accomplishment for somebody that's in their 20s. But if you never go through those phases, then you come into adulthood feeling less than, other than, or without. So that forms some type of inferiority complex. Now I have to prove myself. And that's not proving yourself is not having high self-esteem. Because proving yourself means that you're now taking what's outside of you and embracing it and making it what you're going to judge yourself by. And let's be honest, a lot of things that's happening outside of us shouldn't be making us form who we are, because that's somebody else's opinion. But when you start making little accomplishments within your life, within yourself, setting goals and making them, it starts building you an attitude of success, self-confidence. So I can do this. Give you a small example. when you see a little child and the first time it crosses the road by themselves, they're proud of it. They're like, Mommy, I made it across the street. Look at me. And that was just crossing the street. That attitude of accomplishment goes nowhere. You have to feed it. You always have to be striving for goals, setting goals for yourself. Getting to work on time. That's an accomplishment. Say, like, if you're in a point system on a job that you hate, instead of letting them fire you, get out of that point system. Get your points back. Go to work for a year on time. You're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself if you're the kind of person that's always late. It's the little things. It doesn't have to. Everybody is not going to be a rocket scientist. We don't need that many rocket scientists anyway.
Right.
We need people that are going to be in the community, that are going to be accomplishing being kind, being relevant, being truthful, being loyal, those are traits that develop. Nobody's born with loyalty. When a baby's born, it's born with a need. It cries because it needs something. That doesn't make that baby. And the mother gives it something, whatever the mother feels like the baby should need or the parent need. But that doesn't there's two things that is going on there. Neither one of those two things make you a good parent, or it doesn't make you the child a person of loyal. No, you have to address, and these are things that have to be developed. And you develop them by showing each other, by communicating, not pushing people under the rug because they're different or they act strange. Find out who your neighbor is.
Right, actually take the time and mean it, not just, I'm going to include them because we have to. No,
right.
Because it's going to show.
Right.
It's going to come out as you're not really being truthful.
Right.
And it seems that we live in kind of a society where deceit is overtaking the truth.
Right. And that's why a lot of people fail. But getting back to why, that's one of the reasons why I picked what I picked. And I feel that if I'm not part of the solution, I'm part of the problem. So my little gift, you can say, my little give back was to open up something where two people can be helped. Somebody that has mental illness and somebody that has a felony. The person that has a felony can have a job and make some money and build some self-worth. And the person that has mental illness can have somebody that cares. Now, we have to understand that it doesn't matter how much money you give a person. You can't pay a person to care. Caring is something that has to be a natural thing. Everybody doesn't care, and that doesn't make them a bad person. They just don't care about that particular thing. But everybody has something that they care about, and you as an individual have to find out in society, what do you care about?
What's your passion?
And then you go after it, and then you'll be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done. Right?
True.
And some people, it takes them a little bit of time. We all don't reach those milestones of graduating from college in our early 20s.
I went back to college when I'm sharing.
Okay.
I went back to college when I was 51.
Okay.
Because I spent most of my time being illiterate. I couldn't read. So, then that's a dirty secret, not to be able to read. Who goes through life not being able to read? A lot of people. A lot of people. And when you cannot read, you're missing out on society. You're missing out on what's around you. Because everything you do, you have to read. Everything. Or you're working out of instinct. And if you're working out of instinct or repetition, then you're like an animal. And we're supposed to be the force that drives society, drives nature. You're not doing that. You're part of it now. Nature is driving you. If you don't know how to participate, you have to. And in order to participate, you got to read. So I went back to school, and I had to learn how to read. I got a GED. Then I got. But in doing all these things, I never looked down the road. I just stayed in the moment because I had so many negatives against me that I wasn't going to project, oh, I'm going to do this and then fall short. So I decided that I was just going to take it a day at a time. I started off with my GED from Max Hayes. Then I went on from Max Hayes, and I went down to Tri-C and found out that they no longer used paper to get into college. You have to use the computer. So I had to go back into my neighborhood and get into a program that taught me how to be a, it was called computerized customer service. And it taught me how to use the computer. I didn't care about the customer service part, but don't tell that teacher. So after doing that for 6 weeks, I went back down to Tri-C, and I passed, I placed. I found out where I placed. And finding out where I placed, because I was focusing on the computer and not what the questions were, I placed in the lowest English and the lowest math. But I wasn't offended. By this time, now I'm determined because I have a goal in mind. What the goal was exactly, I had no idea. So then after going to Tri-C, the lowest English and the lowest math, I ended up going through Tri-C, and when I left, I had Associates of Science and Art. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to get a full scholarship to John Carroll.
Excellent.
Right. So I went, because then I found out, because my secret was that I was a dummy that could talk. That was my bias against myself, because we are our worst enemies. And we tell ourselves a lot of negative things that aren't true. So I got to John Carroll, and that's a whole different environment than Tri-C Metro campus. A whole different. So when I got there, it was like, I used to ask myself for the first year, I ain't going back to that place. And then my mind would say, well, then what are you going to do today? And my mind would never come up with anything. So I'd be like, what the heck? I'm going to go back today. And that's how I got through the first year of John Carroll, because it's a whole different environment. The people, most of the students, it's traditional. And most of the students at John Carroll are young, middle to upper class, and they have a whole different way of looking at me from the hood. And sometimes it was offensive. But what I learned in that year, that I was not in John Carroll, I was not in college to be accepted. I was in college doing the same thing they were doing, trying to learn something.
Trying to better your life.
Right. So the more I went, the better I got. The better it was, the easier it was to crack those doors open. So when I left John Carroll, I had earned a bachelor in sociology criminology, and I went on to get my master's in nonprofit administration. Getting a bachelor's in sociology, for me, because I'm a non-traditional student, it taught me all the things that I had been through, because I'm that girl that had the baby at 15. So it taught me how to, so that's what I was doing? That's what happened to me?
It made sense.
Wow. And then I lived it, so it made sense, and then, people have these, like I say, there's these biases amongst the different class systems. And one of the one for the poor is pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, what if you don't got no bootstraps? And I'm saying don't got. I'm not saying don't have. don't got no bootstraps. How do you pull yourself up?
Right.
But it's those accomplishments that make you pull yourself up. The fact that I was sitting in class with a lot of people that couldn't even relate to me made me pull myself up. You understand? Now, when you get this 1.0 degree, what do you do with it? Everybody's different. And because I'm a giver by nature, I decided that this is what I was going to do with my life. I was going to give something back.
Excellent.
Because I had taken so much from my neighborhood. Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, so with giving back, I decided to give back the most vulnerable. And the most vulnerable are the mentally ill. And the most vulnerable are those that have felons. Because they come out hoping, wishing that they can do better.
Absolutely. So, Liz, tell our listeners, what is the Royal Haven?
Oh, Royal Haven is a residential facility for men. I deal with men that have mental illness. And we house them. At my home, it's a home, and we try to make it a place where you want to come, and we try to make you fit into the community, do something in the community, live your best life now. You know, you might not, you know, as a person living as a resident of Royal Haven, you may only be able to go to the senior center and hang out with the seniors. That's better than panhandling on the corner at McDonald's.
Or sleeping on the street every night. Or
sleeping at the street, right. Because now you're interacting with other people that are doing like you. You're at your level. You're at your norm. You're finding your norm. And that's what we do. And then, you know, because the government says if you have a mental illness, you don't have to do anything, then I have those that don't do anything. And with those people, I find that they're the most grumpiest, the most cantankerous, the most unappreciative group of people. But you have to take the bitter with the sweet. You know, you don't worry about them. You keep talking to them like you know, and you keep offering them. You know, and then if their mental illness doesn't allow them to participate well because they have behavioral issues, then you do what you can, and you send them to different, and they fail, and you bring them back, and you know, but you never tell them that you can't do it, because you don't know what a person can do when they find the right thing to do. Right. For them.
And our government has, like you said, tell them, if you're mentally ill, you can't do this, you can't do that. But you're giving them that opportunity and that confidence. Like, yes, you can. Right here with me, you can, you know, go to the senior center every week.
Every day.
Or, you know, participate in chess if you want to, and interact and not be just...
One of my residents found out he could make bird feeders, so now he's making bird feeders for the world. So
hey, nothing wrong with that,
right? Because that's what he's found his niche, and that's what we need to do. And not to get off topic, let me say this about goal setting and achieving your goal. You set a huge goal, like I want to build a house, okay, but I have no education on how to build a house. So I have to go back, and the main objective for everything that I'm going to do is to get to the point where I can build a house. So I have to learn about building, and that's a daily thing. And the house is not going to get up. You don't set, when you don't know anything about anything that you're trying to accomplish, you don't set goals or perimeters around you. I got to learn this by this time, and I got to learn this by that time. I got to learn, because you're setting yourself up for failure. What you do is you begin to get a lifestyle of learning so that you can move and transition to the next level to get you to the point where you can build this house. Because nothing was done in a day. You didn't get to be somebody that doesn't know how to build a house in a day. So you're not going to know how to build a house in a day. So, goal setting is time consuming, and don't put perimeters and boundaries around each one of the small goals that you have to make, because there are going to be pitfalls where you gonna have to do. I had to take economics 4 times before I got it. So,
I thought I was the only one.
Right, it didn't make sense. And we're not even going to talk about physics. I took that, and then I just decided that I'll just take the one and keep it moving.
I hear that.
Because some things aren't for you. Your mind doesn't work that way, Because when I started out on my journey, I wanted to be an engineer because I was going through a divorce, so I didn't want to talk to anybody. I hated the people I worked with, so I was sick of them. So just give me an office, a piece of paper, a cubicle, a piece of paper, and I'll figure it out. That was my attitude.
I hear that.
And all of that changed because I can't, physics to me, in order to be an engineer, you got to be able to do physics. And you got to have some good understanding of economics. For what reason, I don't know, but okay. So, but I never did like either one of those subjects. Those were the worst subjects that I had to encounter. They were painful subjects. I got through them, but it wasn't pretty.
That's good. I know the feeling. I'm not very good with math myself, but I like algebra. So that's my thing. Now, Liz, quick question about the Royal Haven. How did you decide to purchase the home in the Glenville neighborhood, Ward 9? Did you check out other properties before you narrowed it down to this one?
No. Well, I was blessed. I got I fell into a windfall, and I decided to buy a condemned house. Because I've tried a lot of other businesses, because I call myself one entrepreneur, but
nothing wrong with that,
right? So I've tried a lot of other things, and things that I enjoy doing. So I knew that in order to be successful, overhead is very important. So I didn't know where I was going, so I figured I don't need a house note, because that's going to make things more complicated. So I bought a house that was condemned, and the house that I raised my children in was condemned, and I learned how to do a lot of manual things in a house from doing that. And I'm going to say this sidebar, that God equips us over time. You get equipped by where you've been and what you've been through. And those are the things that you pull on when you need. I had a house full of kids, so I learned to cook. So those are the things that make you who you are. So when I decided that I was going to get this house, I was getting this house with one idea, because I was going to help somebody else have a job. And that person fell through. They didn't step up to the plate like they were supposed to, but I had already bought the house. So now I got this whole house, and I got to make it happen, because it's on me. So then I decided, I started fixing it, renovating it. I got the house in December of 2014. By May 22nd of 2015, the house was together.
Oh, wow. How many coats of paint did you use?
I used 65 gallons of paint to paint this house, because it was in bad shape.
It was a little bit of...
Yeah, the rooms were dark, like were burgundy and navy blue. And in order to... Mental illness needs light colors, pastel colors, soothing colors.
Yeah, because, kind of that whole... the darkness that they've been through their whole life. You kind of have to bring that brightness to them, that, hey, there is hope here, and I'm here to give you a little bit.
Right.
Just a little bit. Thank you again, Liz, for coming on and talking about the Royal Haven. So currently, how many residents do you have living with you?
5.
5 residents.
Yeah, 5 residents. Yeah.
All,
men.
Older men, or...
Yeah, they range from the age of 58, and my newest baby is 83.
Oh, wow.
Right. He looks like he's 60.
Hey,
in his 60s.
He's got some good genes there. And kind of where did you come up with the name Royal Haven?
Me, my daughter, and my niece were driving to New York to a hair show. And my daughter was like, we need a royal name. So my niece said, Haven. And my daughter said, yeah, Royal Haven. Yes. And our colors are purple. Those are royal colors. And that was it. That was how it came about.
Wow. That's funny you say that, because I have a similar story with my radio show. The original name that I was going to go with was Two Peas in a Pod, because me and my good friend from Kent State were going to, have this show together. Well, she kind of has a scheduling conflict this semester. And I said, man, I can't do Two Peas in a Pod without her. I can't. So I came home one day and my mom was like, oh, your uncle, I told him about your radio show, and he said, what's your show called? Grew with Portia. I said, that's it. So it
just,
it fell right out the sky, right into my lap. So it works out. Now,
my son, he did the logo.
Aw. Hey, I mean, you got kind of a family business there.
Yeah, he drew the logo. I was like, Ronald, I need a logo. He was like, okay. And he came up with the logo.
Hey, I mean, at least, with your Royal Haven, it seems that you've gotten so many people just coming in to help it come together. I mean, you mentioned in the beginning that you and somebody else were supposed to go in on this. And I'm a firm believer that God sometimes redirects people out of your life that may have caused a detriment if you guys would have partnered together. Right.
And that is true. And God also slows you down so you can learn what you need to learn. Because, by now I'm getting ready to hit my 5 years. And
wow, congrats.
Thank you. And I should be changing all of the neighborhoods in Cleveland. But no, I'm still right in my little neck of the woods, building a strong foundation. And that takes time. That takes time. And building a brand, that represents Royal Haven.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's very important.
So is Royal Haven a 24/7 ordeal?
Yes. Because I no offense, but I don't understand if I'm taking care of mentally ill people and the state says, well, you don't need to be there 24 hours a day, but yet and still if something goes wrong in those 24 hours that I'm not there, then who are you going to hold accountable?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? So if you need to be in a group home, then why am I leaving you home alone?
Yeah, there's a group for a reason.
Right.
I mean, it's a community.
Right.
And that's kind of the dynamic around the Royal Haven. For our listeners out here, I actually had the opportunity to go and see the Royal Haven. And it was, oh my goodness, it was raining and storming. But when I walked up to it, I said, wow, this just looks like a regular family house. I went to the side door, and the minute I opened the door and walked in, I was greeted by one of your staff, and they said, well, welcome. I said, can I live here too? And you probably get that a lot, Liz. People who come in and say, oh, I want a room here.
Okay, we're dealing with mental illness. So, the police come, ambulance, EMT workers come, and they all say, when can I move in?
Right. They get food cooked for them every day. They get pampered. I mean, I felt like I could move in there. And just walking in and looking at the interior, from the bright walls to the carpet that matched and even the vintage furniture, it reminded me of my house. I mean, my great grandma, the furniture in my house is 4 times older than me. It's like 50 years old. But it has that home feeling. And probably this is something that your residents never had. They never had a stable home or anything. So what are some things that you've had to create at the Royal Haven based on your residents' needs?
I've had to let me see. In the summertime, I had to create a designated area for smoking because some people smoke.
Still.
So I got them a gazebo for the smokers.
Excellent.
So the people that don't smoke don't have to sit with the people that do smoke. And that works out fine, but I have nobody there that smokes.
Hey, well, I mean, it can be used
now they sit out there and drink juice or whatever.
I mean, just a little nice area for them to, go out and be together. So, Liz, we're about to wrap up here. So, before I let you go, what advice do you have for our listeners today about whether it's, being a group homeowner or, just spreading kindness around the world?
Whatever you do, don't let money be the factor that you do it on. Let it be something that you do from your heart. Because if I could, I would do what I'm doing for free. That's it.
Excellent. I mean, that takes a lot for somebody to say that, because I think in today's society, we all want to get paid for something. It's not about doing it from the heart.
Right.
And based on when I came there to visit the Royal Haven, I could tell that you were passionate about it because it shows in your work. It shows the way that you interact with your residents. It shows by the way that you interact with your staff.
Right.
It's really a community. And, I really hope that you're able to expand this Royal Haven and change the attitude around mental illness, that it's not just quote unquote acquired.
Yes.
And once it is, whether it's acquired or people are born with it, we need to accept them for who they are.
They are, yes. Because I'm across the street from the church, and the father, and I'm going to let you go, and the father was very, very worried. He found out that I was opening up. He came over there and said, "You're going to have those people." He even wrote, and I was, because you know, and what I do, a lot of times I don't hear please and thank you.
Yeah.
So the please and thank yous come from the acceptance from the community. Mm-hmm. When people accept what's in the community, what I've brought to the community, and what we maintain in the community, that's the please and thank yous for me. That says volumes, because it says that you don't mind me staying here.
Absolutely. And there's just one more thing. If somebody was interested in, potentially supporting you or maybe even coming to visit the Royal Haven, is there like a website or a phone number or email address?
Well, my email address is etilley522@gmail.com.
Once again, that's etilley522@gmail.com.
And Tilley is spelled Tilley.
Excellent.
I can give you my phone number. The phone number is 216-315-0256, and we answer all calls.
Excellent. Well, I thank you, Liz, again for coming on Groove with Portia. Definitely, if you have time, check out the Royal Haven.
The website is royalhaven.inc. Royalhaveninc.org, excuse me.
Definitely check it out. Support Liz. She's doing an excellent thing here for our community.